Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen news. We have progress on Star Citizen Alpha 3.8. Where are we with server-side object container streaming? There is a new 3.7.1 mini patch with a progression reset, boo, and details of a FreeFly event coming soon. So there's a FreeFly event allowing anyone to try the latest Star Citizen build for 3, which will be Star Citizen Alpha 3.7.1. Starting Monday the 28th of October, you can test fly 5 of Star Citizen's latest and greatest ships for a whole week and get into the game for free. What's more, if you refer a friend and they end up backing, you'll receive your very own Kruger P-52 Merlin. So that's their little snub fighter. Players that already have access will be able to try these ships for free during this time too. I would expect a good amount of players to join Star Citizen and make new accounts, as a Kruger P-52 is a ship that's, you know, worth having, maybe. I mean, it's if it's free, why not? Who knows? This week's sneak peek from the newsletter is of a medbay of an undefined ship or location. For some reason, I'm feeling like it's for prisons, but it could very well be for a ship or something. I can't tell because, you know, it's in white box or grey box. Well, white box, this I suppose. Alpha 3.8 features are starting to be completed as well. 3D Pathfinding V2 has moved into its polishing phase for both Squadron 42 and the Persistent Universe's needs. This is incredibly important as part of ship AI, allowing AI ships to move around more appropriately in the universe and be able to fight more appropriately too. In fact, for the Squadron 42 roadmap, they've completed various tasks for AI, FPS Navigation version 2, Flight Mission Logic Additional Control, and FPS Weapon Loadouts. Back to Alpha 3.8 though, Microtech, new Babbage, its landing zone, bartenders, restricted area rework, and the Carrack have all completed various tasks there. Close Combat has also completed its first task of 6 as well. We saw the new space station interiors and the annunciator panels for 3.8 in Inside Star Citizen this week as well. Alpha 3.7.1 deployed a new mini hotfix patch to live. That also reset everyone's progress with Alpha UEC and Alpha UEC purchases. Boo! I do not like that, but it was needed to fix a load of people's issues. In addition to that, it fixed a few things. The player lens should now respect aspect ratio. Personal inner thought should now display correctly at wider aspect ratios. Player ships should no longer spawn without components, something we already thought was fixed in 3.7.1. Ship reclaim should now work consistently. The Pirate Gladius should now be available. Again, something we thought was fixed but wasn't. They fixed a server crash, and players will now see an error message if they are unable to connect to the game on initial load, rather than just an infinite loan screen or whatever. This cuts down the amount of known issues, but there are still some that are certainly going to be worth solving in the short term for CIG. They did say that they were planning on a 3.7.2 patch as well recently, which would make sense as there are quantum travel, star map, AI, and various other, sometimes game-breaking and accessibility issues for missions. We want to be able to play missions. We want to be able to play all missions without them imploding. In Star Citizen Live this week, they made a Big Benny's Noodle Bowl proper asset. Jump Point. So typically I don't cover Jump Point, but I'm thinking about adding it into the news where appropriate. In a sort of compact state. Jump Point is the monthly subscriber magazine, and it has a huge amount of information and some cool bits and bobs every month for RSI subscribers to read. It's actually where I get a lot of my information that people think is sort of like special information that I'm getting directly from devs, but a lot of it's actually from Jump Point, and it's one of the reasons that it is worth subscribing to get that magazine. Also, someone asked me recently where Ben Lesnick was. Ben Lesnick, I believe, works from home now, but he still is the editor for Jump Point. He works on Jump Point magazine, and he's still working for CIG. So there's some stuff in this Jump Point that I wanted to talk about very briefly. Glasses and drinkies were leaked a little while ago in a 3.7.1 data mine, but in Jump Point they talked about a little bit more about sort of different drinks you'll be able to order from barmen when you're in the game, but they also showed off some future faceware. I do not like the look of any of these glasses, but there's going to be, you know, things you can put on your face, which I suppose will work fully with the FOIP stuff, because, you know, it's just an asset going on top of your face and a mask or whatever. Server-side object container streaming and its journey to date was talked about in a huge article here as well. I'll do a bit of a summary for this. Object container streaming is the umbrella term for all technology that makes a vast, seamless universe possible and can provide an extremely large virtual world through which players can move without seeing a loading screen. As Star Citizen is a live environment, they've decided to come up with ways to introduce object container streaming without sort of like having to have Star Citizen offline for 6 months or something. So they're adding object container streaming, server-side object container streaming, and all this sort of stuff and optimizations gradually in while keeping the game environment live. Object container streaming has been in development for several years. The Star Citizen Alpha 3.3 branch over a year ago saw the amalgamation of various tech and tasks that allowed for network bind culling and client-side object container streaming, which then saw significantly better performance in-game with less RAM usage as well. It's made up of a load of stuff though. I'll briefly describe some of those steps, stages, and some of that tech. Levels split into building blocks. The object container is one of them. Entities, which make up a large part of object containers. They also cleaned up all the old legacy code and Lua code. All entity runtime states organized into serialized variables for easier state communication via the network. Multi-threaded optimization for resources engine side, so they can load in textures, meshes, characters, all that sort of stuff very quickly and at the same time. There's the entity component update scheduler, which provides proximity information between all entities and players. The ability to track dynamic entity groups, the entity aggregate system is part of this, as is efficient ways to spawn entities, and their first real usage of client game simulation with pastoral world knowledge via serialized variable culling. Sort of like all of this amalgamated together makes up for client-side object container streaming. So object container streaming basically allows them to put huge amounts of entities across the server, and then the client will only have to be responsible for the performance of an area near them and very proximate to them, so they can have huge amounts of content elsewhere on the server, and you don't have this huge like performance sort of like cost. However, that's not how it works at the moment, as everything is loaded onto the server still, and the servers are not efficient enough to be able to handle that, so that you get bad frame rates, you'll get jerkiness, you'll get problems with AI, and server-side object container streaming is what deals with that, and that's what they're working on currently. So this freezes server states in areas if no players are there, so that they don't have to think about those entities. They just go, bam, that's frozen, that's on standby, and then they have more of the server working on areas that are actually loaded in and active. So it's just significantly more efficient. When server-side object container streaming is done, they'll have the technology for sort of like content scaling on servers. This means that they can place more content in the virtual world. Server performance is only going to be affected by areas that actually have players in, and that should make for a significantly better experience. So they are working on building server-side object container streaming out. There are lots of problems and lots of things that it touches server-side object container streaming. The work also won't be over in the first iteration of object container streaming that we get, so they're going to continue to work on that. There's a lot more going on with that. The first release will give them a better way to content scale on servers. There'll be a teething phase, I would expect, and optimizations and stuff going into that. The next step will then have the ability for servers to save states between servers. So when they freeze an area, they can actually have that as a persistent state. If a server goes down or crashes, they'll be able to save the state of the server as it crashes. That will be absolutely fantastic. After that, they'll move on to server meshing that will allow multiple servers to be responsible for a mega instance or a whole star system or area of space, and then they can do that in a nested fashion. So dynamic server meshing afterwards would allow for a building or single object container, ship, room, whatever, to each individually be a server based on player population. What makes this tech sort of like special and really useful and something that's a bit beyond the pale is that it's seamless. And that's the idea. Seamless handoff of data between servers allows for no loading screens and these huge stitching of servers together so that you can have like a single system run by 200 servers, so you can have tens of thousands of players in those servers. That is the idea behind object container streaming when done in server meshing. As a side note as well, the game content editor needs to be made object container streaming aware, and this is going to allow them to have a lot more optimized content, missions, and locations. They're building towards that at the moment. There is no hard date for server-side object container streaming and server meshing to be in the game. Some of this could be targeted for 3.8 though. I suspect we will know more at CitizenCon. It is incredibly integral, important, one of the most important things for the game to get server-side object container streaming in ASAP, and then to get server meshing, both static and then dynamic, done for the game. But I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. Are you incredibly upset that 3.7.1 new mini patch has done a server reset and a progression reset. Do you think we'll see server-side object container streaming, or at least some of its features, in 3.8? Obviously, we do need more optimizations to get Microtech, that new planet in, and it is planned for 3.8 still, so I'm expecting something new, but I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Are you excited for CitizenCon? Are you going to CitizenCon? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For October, it's an Anvil Carrack Explorer ship that should hopefully be flyable in Alpha 3.8 at the end of the year. Just comment on any of my videos made during October to be in for a chance to win that. I am also shilling for NordVPN and Shadow gaming PCs, so use the code BoredGamer for discounts there. NordVPN, in a world of censorship and privacy issues, VPNs allow you to browse the net and play games in more safety. NordVPN has many benefits over free VPNs, and that's why I shill for it. Some of you also might be interested in Shadow cloud gaming stuff. This allows you an alternative to sort of like buying and maintaining your own gaming PC. You can stream a custom Windows 10 environment to devices like your phone, a laptop, or a crappier, lesser PC, and bam, it's fantastically powerful, and it's maintained, and hardware is regularly updated for you. It's a fantastic service, Shadow. Cloud gaming certainly has quite a big future ahead of it. If you'd like to further support my channel, please consider subscribing, sharing this video, ringing the YouTube bell so you get notifications when a video goes live. This is a channel that is funded by the community via donations, Patreon members, YouTube members, and anyone else that wants to get involved with comments and helping. Thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile. Take care, and I will see you in the verse.